Hey team, happy summer and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian, core design engineer with Brunswick Bowling, and today we have an extra special Ebonite video for you guys because we are putting a chart together that showcases all of the Ebonite balls in the last year from Bowl Expo 2024 all the way up till right now, and we're going to compare them and see how they all stack up to one another in terms of where they fall. And also we're going to be putting the new Ebonite launch, the entity, on the chart and talking about how that one falls in with the rest of the balls in the current Ebonite lineup. And of course we are going to help you build a 6-ball arsenal, and we're going to do that with a simple chart. And let me dive into this explanation. We'll make this video quick and painless. We're going to start by popping up this chart right here. And this chart has two axes on it. We're going to organize the bowling balls in this manner. First of all, heavy oil balls toward the top, down to the lightest oil balls at the bottom of the chart on the y-axis. And on this x-axis at the bottom here, from left to right, we have smoothness and sharpness of the response to friction. So we're going to put all the balls in the charts, and I recommend that you build a 6-ball arsenal. 6 balls is very handy because that is 2 3-ball totes that you can pull along behind you to leagues and tournaments. If you bowl on the house shot China, of course you can pick your favorite 3 and drop them into one 3-ball tote. But if you're going to local tournaments, other bowling centers, or even regional tournaments, then a 6-ball expanded arsenal is going to be just perfect. And it used to be that 2 bags flew free on Southwest, so I always recommended getting the triple ball rollers that flew under 50 pounds for free, but that's no longer the case with Southwest, so I guess I will be doing some shopping to figure out who I'm flying with from now on. Bitterness aside, let's take a look at this chart in a little more depth, and I will recommend how you select balls on it. We're going to start with 6 balls, and we're going to do it like this. We want 2 balls in the heavy oil category of ball motion, 2 balls in the medium oil category, and of course you guessed it, 2 balls in the light oil category as well. And also, when you make the selection for 6 balls, 2 in each category, you're going to want to separate them a little bit by motion shape. So you're going to want 1 smooth and 1 sharp ball for each of the categories for heavy, medium, and light oil. So all told, you're going to have 6 bowling balls, a smooth and a sharp in each category. That is simple enough. So we're going to throw the Ebonite balls from the past year up here right now, and before we explore this chart in great depth, I am going to offer you a couple disclaimers. Number 1, this is just my opinion. This is where I believe the balls fall relative to each other on the chart. Of course, being the core designer for a number of the brands here at Brunswick, I do have some inside intel. I've watched a lot of the testing. For the most part, we're pretty good at hitting performance targets, and where they fall in the marketing is also where I put them on my chart as well. So I don't think we're really at odds in terms of what we expect the balls to do, maybe just a little nuance in shape differences in my opinion, but very close. Number 2, obviously a 2D chart does not capture all the information. Ball motion is a very complicated thing and subjective in a lot of ways. So just talking about oil volume and shot shape, that's not going to cover all the nuances of ball motion. So I put them just in their vague categories, on the chart, either in a square or on the line between squares. I wasn't going to nudge them around to the nth degree to make sure that they exactly fall relative to one another, the exact distance from each other, or anything like that. This is just going to give you a more general idea of how they roll, because for different playing styles, lane environments, oil conditions, you name it, experiences could be different across the board. So I could make the chart as perfect as I want and people would still have a problem with it. So just take it with a grain of salt. Understand that these are the general overarching performance targets that we're going for at their box finish. That's number 2. Disclaimer number 3, this is not all the balls in the current Ebonite lineup. Maybe some were already discontinued, and maybe some staples like the Game Breaker 5 doesn't appear on the chart, but it is actually still in the lineup because it's such a strong seller. This is just 1 year from Bowl Expo 2024 up until right before Bowl Expo 2025. And of course, we'll pop the entity on the chart in a second and show you exactly where it falls relative to the current balls, because that is the new Bowl Expo ball for 2025. But right now, it's just all of the balls from the previous year leading right up to the current Expo season. And we'll take a lap around the chart and take a look at some highlights. Right now, your strong smooth ball is your crusher, and that was a much blendier, smoother ball with no HK in the cover base. Just an overall very gradual arcing ball for medium to heavy oil conditions. A lot of versatility in terms of how much oil that ball can handle, because it didn't hook as much as some of the other big asymmetrical balls in other lineups. Directly across from it on the chart, another strong asymmetrical ball with a totally different cover, the Crusher Hybrid. This shiny purple silver solid ball is one of the sharpest and strongest downlane motions that you're going to get, certainly in the Ebonite lineup. But I would also pit this Crusher Hybrid against basically any lineup. I mean, that ball undersold and overperformed for its price point. I mean, the Pro Performance balls for Ebonite are still among the cheapest relative to any other brand on the market, and they don't lack performance. They're just a budget-friendly option. And that's kind of how we're building this brand. The one Reverb goes a step above that. More squarely for heavy oil situations, it's going to be more in the mid lane and more change of direction earlier on the lane, but still a shiny asymmetrical ball with tons of intermediate differential to make sure that that ball slows down and gets started changing direction. So if you're rev challenged, or if you just see a lot of oil volume, that one might be a better option than the Crusher Hybrid. And then down at the bottom of the chart, this is where Ebonite's value as a brand really shines. You've got staples like the Real Time, bringing the Big Time / Real Time series back. That one has a ton of differential for its medium price point. The Game Breaker 5 series squarely in the middle of your lineup in terms of RG and differential. This one with a cleaner, sharper cover on it for the Game Breaker 5 Pearl. And then Fireball, Turbo X are occupying a little bit of the same space, but as you'll see when we transition to the new chart for Bull Expo 2025, we're sunsetting that Fireball because that Turbo X has been the ball for Ebonite for broken down conditions and light oil conditions. People are in love with the shape of the Turbo X. It certainly reminds them of the nostalgia of that ball. Of course, boosted numbers, RGs, differentials, and cover stock for today's modern game, but it's like having that ball again, but strong enough to compete on medium light oil conditions in today's environment. So what I'll do right here is I'll flip a magic switch, and I'm gonna get rid of the Fireball that was May of 2024 release, and we'll pop up the Expo 2025 release that is the Entity. It is a new core cover pairing in the Ebonite lineup, and you can see already by the chart that not only is it stronger than the previous Crusher, but it is also more change of direction than the Crusher as well. So adds a bit of sharpness to the strong category of ball motion for a sanded solid. So it's not just slowing down and rolling forward and being heavy chuggy motion. This one actually does change direction very well at the back of the lane despite slowing down well in the mid lane. That is aided by the new Entity core. So this one actually has a very medium RG, 2515, just on the high side of medium. So that's actually a little higher than you would normally see for some of the biggest, strongest asymmetrical balls in a given lineup. And that's part of the reason that this one has more shape overall. It's not pegged all the way left on the chart, but rather it actually does have a little bit of sharpness to it despite being a big, dull, sanded, solid bowling ball. That 2515 RG aiding in that ball revving up just a little later down lane, delaying the breakpoint just a little bit, and total differential of 052 makes it a very high total differential, and 020 intermediate differential is getting into the high range of intermediate differential as well. And as you may or may not know, intermediate differential is going to be responsible for how quick that ball hook window is. In other words, the transition from skid to hook to roll is shortened up, is quickened up. So that means that ball, once it slows down and starts to change direction, that hook window, that change of direction is rather rapid with a higher intermediate differential at 020. The good news about this one is it's paired with HK22C. C stands for cohesion, and that's going to help this ball to continue, not get too forward through the pins. I will caution you that these big, strong asymmetrical balls with these heavy standard cover stocks are always going to be a little chuggy, a little early, and a little forward, but on the right heavy oil conditions, this Entity is not too forward as far as I'm concerned. Of course, this is the optimized blend of additives that's going to go in this HK22C cover package to round out a very, very strong combination for Ebonite. Easily the strongest ball in its current lineup, but it's not strong early quitty. It's more like strong with good down lane shape and the ability to open up the lane. And that's a pairing that I think anyone can get behind. Alright, that's the information I have on the brand new Entity from Ebonite and some advice about how to build a 6-ball arsenal. I didn't mention it before, but I think it goes without saying, the entity is going to go in the strong and smooth category of ball motion in our 6-ball Arsenal builder, but you can tell by the chart that that was already the case. And this one is a little bit of a bonus too, because not only is it in the strong smooth category of ball motion, but it also has utility to go in and go around the lane without worrying about it being too quitty or too forward. So this one has a little more all-purpose utility. And of course, if you're not bowling on an absolute flood and you need just a little bit more length, you notice that there's a little bit of a gap in the Ebonite chart right now where, I mean, obviously the GB5 would sit there, but there is a gap from the entity down to the GB5. The crusher slot's in there, but it is smoother than both of those two balls. Rambling aside, what I'm trying to get at is if you need to and you're not bowling on a flood or a ton of heavy oil in the middle, you can always up the surface on the entity to give you additional length. That, of course, is going to bring it down the chart more toward the medium oil category of ball motion, and that'll slot it more closely above your staples like your real times or your Game Breaker 5s. If you want to learn more about the Ebonite balls, the cores that are inside of them, or if you want to check out these style videos where I'm talking about the charts and Arsenal building, then make sure you give me a like and a follow at Bowling Buckosh on Facebook and YouTube. I've already done the hammer and the DV8 charts for the brand new launches for June along with this entity. And next time we're going to be talking about the August releases, starting with the Brunswick Expo releases that launch in August. So make sure you're following my page, and I will see you in that next video.